One of several big stories out of Springfield that we are talking about this morning. We are waiting to see if Governor Quinn will sign legislation putting an end to the death penalty in Illinois.
And our legal expert, Attorney Thomas Glasgow, is a defense attorney who's also worked for the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. I'm so glad to have you with us.
Good morning.
What's your reaction? Death penalty opponents have been pushing for this for a long time. You think he's going to sign it, and what kind of impact do you think it'll have?
Whether he signs it or not, I think is really going to be dependent on what he thinks in the long run is for the best in Illinois. He said he supported capital punishment in the past, but he also supports the moratorium. Last year, we spent $100 million both prosecuting and defending death penalty cases. Since the death penalty was reinstituted in 1976, we've had 12 executions. We've had 20 people exonerated, which is the problem with the death penalty here in Illinois. Based on those odds, you eventually are going to end up executing someone who was not guilty of the crime. Look at Mr. Fox, look at Mr. Hobbs recently in the news. If you remember back to 1998, the 11-year-olds who were charged with murder, who were exonerated when the semen was tested for DNA, etc. Those are things that troubled the legislators, both in the House and in the Senate. And these are things that have bothered them for a long period of time. We've instituted all sorts of reforms in the death penalty bar. We have had to have special training. You have to be part of the capital litigation bar, and you have to go through additional training. You have to have a certain number of murders that you've tried in order to actually try death penalty cases. They've upped the number of people to 2. You have to have a first chair and a second chair in all death penalty cases. They created the Capital Litigation Trust Fund for indigent clients so that they could have access to experts, and they could end up, hiring their own forensics people and go over. These cases cost money, and these training costs money. All these safeguards. We've tape recorded investigations and tape recorded the interrogations, and yet we still have people that are innocent that are being charged with murder. And I think that's what really rings true with a lot of these legislators, and I think that's going to ring true with the governor.
But Thomas, I think the frustrating part is a lot of people do see the arguments from both sides. And there are some law enforcement officials who are opposed to lifting or banning the death penalty.
Yes.
Is it a powerful tool for them to use as a deterrent in their investigation?
Absolutely. I mean, being a former prosecutor and utilizing that tool, investigating murders and interviewing people who are accused of murder, the death penalty is a very powerful tool to utilize for leverage. Now, some of the state's attorneys have charged the death penalty in simply a way to get people to bargain down to another plea. For every 60 people that they ask for the death penalty, they get 1 death penalty actual conviction on. So it's sometimes used as a bargaining tool in order to get people to plea on cases where they normally wouldn't plea, because you're looking at, and especially with gun cases, on the bottom end you're looking at 45 to 60 years. So there's no real incentive for a person to end up pleading to that.
Like you said, it's a volatile issue, and it goes on and on regardless of what happens today. Thank you, Thomas, as always.
It's good to see both of you.
Thank you, Thomas.
Good insights today on that, too. Appreciate it.
It is 6:27 right now. We're going to check weather.